Hello and welcome to the Gers TV for today's preview show for what is going to be a massive game tomorrow in the League Cup semi-final at Hampden against Celtic. I'm delighted to be joined by Gordy. How are you, mate? If I can speak.
Excited.
Yeah, excited.
Excited.
Nervous? No.
What with you? I do Gers TV with you guys. What can I possibly be nervous about?
I know. What about yourself, Lewis? How are you, mate?
Yeah, well, I'm not actually as nervous as what I'm usually am, but I wouldn't necessarily say that's a good sign. I'm confident enough. I think we'll get the result, but I don't think it's going to be a drubbing or anything. I think it'll be a tight game. I think we'll possibly see it going in extra time, but I think we'll still get the result over the line. I've said 3-2 Rangers for me, anyways.
Yeah, and yourself, Dylan? It's been a while since I've been on the podcast with you. How you doing?
I'm all right. Absolutely buzzing for tomorrow, to be honest.
Yeah.
Hopefully they can get it done in the 90.
I know, it's going to be a big game. And I think the last time we beat them at Hampden as well, if I'm not mistaken, it was the was it 2016 penalty shootout?
No, it wasn't that long ago. It was
one
under Van Bronckhorst.
It was under Van Bronckhorst, yeah. Completely forgot about that. Yeah, so what? It's been 3-4 years since we last beat them at Hampden.
Yeah,
which is too long, and we should have beat them last year. Obviously, we got that decision that went against us. Obviously, the penalty decision. So hopefully tomorrow the referees will be on point and they won't be making any more silly mistakes like that. But tomorrow we are going to be missing probably, I would say, under this new system anyway, with Danny Röhl, potentially our best player in Connor Barron because he's suspended. What are your thoughts on that, Gordy?
I'm getting that second. Good to see Dylan back. Dylan boycotted us until Martin left Rangers, so obviously he's now free to. The shackles are undone again, so he's free to come on us again. So that's good. Now that he's his pal Russell Martin's away. Connor Barron's a strange one for me because, first of all, he always looks like he's been out the night before. When he's playing, he's always getting his bag. That's not bad, right enough, but the bag under the eyes always looks like he's been a night out. It's a bit like Michael Beale. Every time you see Michael Beale, it always looks like he just come for the loud in the night before. But
that's because he did half the time.
Well, that is true. I like Connor Barron. I like him as a player. I just think that there's just this thing where he does 90% things right. And then 95% things right, but because he's still young, he's still learning. Just a little bit inexperienced in the top games. There's just that little bit, very occasionally, where he can do a misplaced pass or mistimed tackle, etc. So, I think he's done well in the last few weeks. When he came on, I think it was Russell Martin's last game, or might have been the first game after Russell Martin left. He almost single-handedly got us back into the game against Dundee United. So I like him as a player, but I think we can cope without him. That's not being harsh, that's just an honest opinion.
Yeah, so I'm just going to add up a little picture here, which the Rangers, their Instagram page posted the other day, I think it was yesterday, with his stats against Hibernian. So if you look at the stats, and if you look at how Danny Röhl wants to play, and he keeps going on about this, the counter-pressing is high-intensity football, you can see here, during the game against Hibernian, he was first for pressures, second in the match for counter-pressures, first for Rangers. Defensive action, again, first. Successful passes into the final third, joint first for us, second for the match in total. Covered the most amount of ground and the high-intensity distance as well, first on there. So you can see how important he is becoming under Danny Röhl's side, especially in these games, in these big games where you're playing against opposition and they might have quite a bit of the ball, especially against the other half of the city or against Hampden, who are really strong at home. Just someone that can come on and can disrupt the flow of the game and can try and win the ball back for us high up the pitch. What are your thoughts on that, Lewis? Do you think he's going to be a big miss?
Yeah, actually, I'm not saying we won't survive without him, but I certainly think he's a much bigger miss than what we think. I think the only player that we have, apart from maybe Nico Raskin, who's similar to Connor Barron in the way that he plays, is Joe Rothwell, and I just think he's that bit too slow for me, especially for a game against Celtic, of course, an old firm. So, yeah, I mean, I think, as I said, they're a massive loss. I think we're really blessed in terms of our midfield options, to be honest. As much as I did just say there, Joe Rothwell, he's quite slow, but I don't mind him as a player. Nico Raskin, obviously, possibly one of, if not the best players in the league. Then Connor Barron, Lyle Cameron, two of Scotland's best young prospects, to be honest, especially in the league. You've got Diamande Asgard as well, who are still young as well. So I think we're really blessed in terms of our midfield options. So I think we will survive without him. But I think it certainly will be a big miss. It will be a notable miss for me.
Yeah, for me as well, I'm pretty devastated that he's not going to be there, to be fair, because I feel like we're really going to miss his energy in midfield. I know we're going to come on to the lineups in a bit. We've all sort of chosen our lineups for tomorrow. But Dylan, who would you replace Connor Barron with then in this team?
I would personally go Diamande. I think in these sort of games you need the creativity in the midfield. Connor Barron's a great player. I'd take nothing away from that. And I think he suits the games best where the teams are going to sit back and try and play passes around the midfield and that. But obviously against the other side of the city, they're going to come for it. They're going to go guns blazing. So I think the best way to counter that maybe is by playing a creative player.
Okay. Well, we'll come on to the lineups now. I'll go through mine first, and then we can discuss mine, and then we'll go on to yours, Lewis, and Dylan's as well. So I've decided to go with this formation here, the 3-4-2-1. I feel like from the last game, this is what it looked like to me, how we were set up. So I think he's going to go for the same thing as he did against Killian, against Hibs. It seems like it's a formation that he feels is working currently, and I feel like it'd be crazy to go away from this now, seeing as we've won the last two games. But there were some tough choices. So I've got Jack Butland in goal. That was probably the most obvious one. And then you've got John Suter in the centre of that defensive three, then Cornelius to the left and Giga to the right. Then I've gone with Magoma on the left-hand side. I feel like this is really where he's coming into his own now. Playing in that left wing back spot, he's very positive going forward. He forced him into a first half substitution because he was that positive against Hibs. And he's got that defensive cover in Cornelius, so he doesn't have to worry too much about the defensive side, or at least that he's going to be leaving too much space as he goes forward. So I'm happy with Magoma starting on the left-hand side. And then I've gone with Aarons on the right-hand side. And this was quite tough because I was trying to fit James Tav, and I know James Tav did the press conference today, so chances are he might start, but I feel like I didn't know whether to put him at right centre back, but then I thought, well, Giga played really well there midweek, and I feel like that five at the back, the Magoma through to Max Aarons, it worked, and I felt like we had this stable foundation for us to then build from. So I kind of feel like he might stick with that. And I'm not sure, obviously, James Tavernier is, 34 now? Obviously, in the right wing-back spot, there's a lot of running involved there. And I'm not sure if that's going to be too much for him. But he's fit as a fiddle, isn't he, James Tav? So he could easily play there. But I'll go with Max Aarons anyway. And then midfield two there, I've got Raskin and Diamande. Raskin's an obvious choice. And then I also, like yourself, Dylan, I went with Diamande in there. I feel like he's got experience in this fixture. Unlike, Joe Rothwell's played the first Old Firm, the most boring Old Firm we've seen in a while. But I feel like in this sort of occasion, Cup semi-final at Hampden, we've got to go with Diamande. He scored against them last season as well. So yeah, I've gone with him. And then the front three, I've gone with Gassama and Danilo. I feel like Danilo, again, speaks for itself last two games. Got 2 goals, and I feel like he's on a good bit of form. Scored against him the last time we played him at Hampden, that lovely header just before the end of the game. And I feel like he's just, he's our best finisher in the team. And I feel like if we want to score goals, we need him in the team. Simple as that. And then I kind of feel like we also need a bit of pace, though, in behind. So I've gone for Gassama. And that's also why I've gone for Miovski rather than Schmitti, because I feel like against this Celtic side, they're going to probably want to push up high up the pitch. we need to be aiming for the spaces that they're going to leave in behind. And Miovski is better at running in behind than Schmidt is. So that's what I've gone for. Thoughts, guys?
I think it's a great team. And Mings is quite different, I would say, but looking at that on paper, I would not be angry if I saw that lineup tomorrow.
Well, Lewis?
Yeah, well, we'll get onto my team in a second. I think I've only got 3 differences, 3 changes compared to your team, so I agree with it in the most part. We'll get, obviously, as I said there, we'll get onto mine in a second. I'm really liking the 3 at the back, to be honest. I think the 3 at the back provides a lot of stability in the team, to be honest. I think it's the perfect balance, especially that formation that you picked there, and even the formation I've went with as well. It's pretty much the same as yours, Jason. But it provides a perfect balance across the defence, midfield. I think a 3 at the back it's perfect for these sort of games where teams are going to hit you, teams are going to come for you. So I wouldn't disagree with it. I wouldn't be disappointed with that team tomorrow.
So what about yourself, Gordy? Because you haven't done a lineup today. It's only just myself, Dylan, and Lewis. So you've got the all-important vote there. You get to choose at the end which one you would prefer to go.
Thanks for pointing that out live in the show there, Jay.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
So, well, you're the judge now. You're the judge. You haven't got a lineup.
Just you go and gas me up.
Yeah.
That's fine. So a couple of quick questions, right? So, Diomande, for me, he's not really kicked the ball all season, to be perfectly honest. I know you, Dylan, you mentioned his creativity at the start of this piece, but I can't actually remember him setting up a goal this season. So do you think he could just go? I think he's in the right frame of mind and match sharpness to come back into the team and just start tomorrow?
I hope so. The only downside with Diomande, I'd say, is his physical presence. I think he gets shoved off the ball far too easily in this league anyway.
Okay. I mean, I would say the issue I've got with 3 at the back, right? I think it's the ideal system for Rangers right now, but we're overloaded with us. And I think they're weak down. I think they're weak on the flanks. Kieran Tierney, if he plays, he's only about half match fit. So you get Kassam running against him just in the left hand side. Exclusive in the left hand side. That could work out really trumps for us tomorrow because Tierney isn't the Tierney when he first played for Celtic. I think they're weak up front as well because Iniacho seems to be injured. Maeda, if that's how you pronounce it, if he comes into the team, I think he's been missing a few games as well. He won't be match sharp. So I would go for 3 back against Celtic, but I just think that they're going to be struggling up front. So I think that they're going to pack the midfield. So as much as I don't rate Joe Rothwell, I actually think tomorrow would be a game for Joe Rothwell because I think they'll pack the midfield and Joe Rothwell or Raskin could sit on Callum McGregor. And that's been the secret to our success over the last year or two playing Celtic. Just somebody sitting on Callum McGregor. And if Joe Rothwell has good experience for that, great. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. The captain Tavernier dropping him for Aarons, who's not really kicked the ball all season as well. It's a bit controversial.
It is, but because of how they performed on Wednesday, it sort of changed my mind a bit in terms of how this could potentially work in this system. But James Tapp, it was a hard one to leave out. It really was because he's your captain and you're playing in the biggest game of the season so far. Huge game. You'd want him involved in some capacity. But again, Danny Röhl has also mentioned about impact players. Make sure we've got some impact players, and James Tavernier can potentially be that tomorrow. But going back to you mentioned obviously about Celtic having some injury problems at the minute. I feel like the biggest one for them is not having Carter Vickers, right? Because he is he is their rock at the back. But we have a really big physical team now. If you look at Cornelius, Suter, Giga, you look at Miovski up front, and we've also got Shimiti to bring on, etc. We've got a big physical team, and I feel like, when I didn't watch them against Falkirk, but when I seen them against Hearts, they looked really, really fragile at the back with the with Scales and I can't remember the young lad's name. Murray, is it Murray?
Yeah, Dane Murray. Denmark.
Yeah. So just to come in, so that's exactly one thing about the wingers. So if we had Antman or Mikey Moore playing, so one or the other, and Gassam on left and right hand side, Hearts basically destroyed them. And I watched the second half last Sunday, and Hearts just, you were right about the pace. So I just think Antman and Gassam, and then if we get a 2-goal lead or whatever, then we change it and bring somebody on to be a bit more defensively. But I always think that in these games, you have to set your stall out straight away. And if we go an attacking, pacey lineup with two wingers, I think they'll retreat a little bit from the kickoff. And that could be a really good start for us. But Danilo has to start up front. I think you're right about that. It's crazy to say this. He's the only striker that's actually scored 2 consecutive games this season. So he starts. And Miovski, I don't know. I honestly don't know about Miovski. He's been a big disappointment for me so far. And he's out of form. And again, it's a gamble to bring him back. A bit like Diamande, it's a bit of a gamble to bring him back in. You bring him back in because you buy these players for these games. So you would think that you'd think that you start, but Danilo, for me, starts. Well, Danilo starts just behind a striker like Miovski, possibly. But
if you were playing the wingers, then would you play Danilo as the main man up top then, with Gassam on the left and Antman on the right?
Yeah, probably would. I rate Antman. I think that I do. I think he's capable of producing. He's capable of producing it. I think, and I would play a 4-4-2. Normally, I would advocate a 3 at the back, but just with the way Celtic are playing and their injury problems, I think it's super important to just put them under pressure. And I think we can afford to have 2 at the back this time. But I could be wrong. I've been not been wrong before.
Yeah, well, interesting and very, very valid points indeed. So shall we move on then to Lewis's lineup? Talk through his lineup, please, mate.
Yeah, of course. I mean, yes, like same as everyone else, I've picked Jack Butland in goal. Same backline as yours, Jay, with Cornelius, John Suter and Jiga. Again, McGoma on the left, Matt Raskin in the middle speaks for itself. But this is where I've sort of differentiated to you, Jay. I went for Asgard and Mikey Moore and James Tavernier as well, the right wing back. I think personally, this is the main reason why he never played on Wednesday night. I think he was just saving him for tomorrow, to be completely honest. Mikey Moore, I think, has been on good form. I think it would be harsh to drop him now. And the main reason why I went for Asgard over the likes of Diamande or even Joe Rothwell is the last Old Firm, yes, albeit it was a very boring game, but Asgard's main task that game was to shut Callum McGregor up, and that's exactly what he did. He kept him quiet, and I think that's probably the most important task in the Old Firm, to keep him quiet, because he's arguably Celtic's best player, and he's probably their most crucial player in their team, obviously being their captain and their holding midfielder as well. So I think it's safe to say that if basically something's not broke, don't fix it. So I think, as I said there, he kept him very quiet. So that's the main reason why I would start him over the likes of Diamande. And again, Diamande's not really had much game time this season, so I think it would be a bit harsh on him as well, just to fire him into this game, considering he's not had much opportunity this season. So yeah, I feel some players who I feel quite harsh about dropping. Well, I'm not picking in my team, is Gassama and Antman, to be completely honest. I think I agree with you, yes, that their weaker spots are probably the flanks, but their stronger spot is probably their midfield. And I think you're saying that Celtic will probably pack their midfield, but I think that's what we should do, to be completely honest. I think it should be. So, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, I think most of our play will probably come down the wings, as it has done for the last wee while, especially in the Hibs game. So, I don't know. I really don't know. And then I obviously went for the 2 up front, Danilo and Bojan Miovski. And my reasoning for going for Miovski over Sirmiti is, don't get me wrong, like, I don't mind Sirmiti, right? Obviously, whole 8 million, 10 million pound player. I think it's hard to drop him, because I think if you're spending 8 to 10 million pounds on a player, you need to play him in big games like this. But at the same time, Bojan Miovski, at his time at Aberdeen, he was a big game player. He always scored against Rangers. He always scored against Celtic. He scored in big games for Aberdeen. He was a big game player. And to be honest, he's not had much chance in big games this season. Yes, he's not impressed us that much. He's not scored many. He's scored 2 in 9 or 10 games or something like that. It's not good. But again, none of our strikers have really been at it this season. Of course, Danilo's coming on to a game the last couple of games, so obviously I would play him. I feel a bit harsh dropping Sermiti, to be honest, because I don't mind him. I like his movement. I think he's a tad bit slow, but he's a big guy. He's a lumpy boy, so he is going to be that wee bit slow. But yeah, that's my team really that I would go for tomorrow. But I'd be open to changing it. Maybe even bring James Tavernier out the team for even your likes of Gassama or Antman. To be honest, I'd be open to that.
Yeah, I think with this lineup, my only concern is, are we too weak in the midfield? Do you see Asgard, tracking all the way back to when we're defending on the counter or whatnot? I feel like I'm not sure if he'd work well next to Raskin. I feel like he's definitely more of a forward player for sure. What are your thoughts on that, Dylan?
I actually agree, Jason. Asgard as well. I'd probably drop Mikey Moore, play Asgard as a 10, and then have either Roffel or Diamande in there, so it's nice and compact, and it's two CDMs that are going to fight for the ball.
Yeah, I feel like, and you mentioned this before, Gordy, about trying to really go for them. I feel like there is going to be that sense of wanting to have a foundation to start with and then grow from that throughout the game. I feel like we aren't going to see, as many attackers as we can get on the pitch and try and go for them. It's going to be, pretty much like the Hibs game where we've got a strong foundation and we're going to either try and hit them on the break or try and press them high up the pitch and win the ball back high up the pitch and force them into errors rather than dominate and really go for them with wave after wave of attack. Gordy, what are your thoughts on this one then?
Yeah, I mean, Lewis, you mentioned about shutting Cal McGregor down. Point I made with Jay's lineup. I think that is the key to success against Celtic. I think that's been proven. The games that Celtic have dominated, Dodd McGregor's been man of the match. The games that he's not, the games that we've managed to mark him and shut him down, we've won or had a convincing performance. So Asgard did do it in the previous game at Ibrox. I think it was a very, very poor game. I've tried to blank that game out of my mind, to be perfectly honest. But so looking at that again, it's just 3 at the back, 2 wingers. Two kind of right wing backs, Tavernier, Goma. I just think it's awful that we are talking about guys that we are signing for 8 million and 4 million and millions of pounds, and we're actually asking, are they good enough to start against Celtic? So, Asgard, I don't know. I've not seen little glimpses of him, but like Antman. So, Mikey Moore playing him in central. Is he in the centre? That's I'll be surprised. That would be a surprise. I don't mind tactical surprises in these games. I think that keeps everyone guessing, and that's something that Celtic wouldn't have thought about. So having someone in that gap between midfield and attack,
sorry, correct. It's fine. I'm sorry.
That's right. So I agree with most of Jay's team and most of that team as well. It's just for this one-off particular game. I'm not sure we have to freeze it, given the injury problems up front. I don't necessarily think we have to go 3 at the back this game. However, it does give us more confidence, and we have been playing okay with it. So I'm not against it either. I just think for this one specific game as a one-off, I don't believe it's urgently necessary. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, for me, with Mikey Moore being in the middle, yes, I agree. It's a sort of surprising aspect that, as you said, Celtic won't really be thinking about or wouldn't have thought about. But the main reasoning for me was just purely he's in form and he deserves to be in that team, and I was just trying to fit him in somewhere, to be honest. That was my thinking.
Fair enough.
Cool. Right, so we move on to Dylan's then. Last lineup.
Last, maybe least, maybe not.
I went back for a 4-3-3.
Oh. He's playing a 2-3-5 formation. Good, the good old days.
Went back for a 4-3-3. The defence pretty much picks itself. It's harsh dropping Giga, but I think we're going to need Suter in there. Thought Giga was superb on Wednesday night. Same with Max Irons. He was brilliant, but once again, I think we need our captain in there. And then the midfield, I've gone Raskin, Asgard, and Diamonde. I think having Asgard and Diamonde in the same team together will allow us to go for, well, one of them push forward, one stay back, and they'll have that roam, the free roam of who does that. And then with the front three, I've gone for Gassama, Miovski, and Mikey Moore. It's harsh dropping Danilo, but I think Miovski's like pressing from the front is superb and could really hurt Celtic. Defence anyway, with how slow they do play from out the back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with this one, I'm thinking I would be honestly, I would be surprised if he did revert back. But if he did revert back to a 4-3-3, I agree with most of this team. The only thing I would change potentially, I'm looking at Asgard. What worries me about Asgard, I get he's good on the ball, but when things get tough, I feel like he goes missing. You know, he scored that amazing goal against Dundee United. First half, everything was fine. We created a lot of chances. Second half, when they became more physical, he was nowhere to be seen. And I feel like I would want someone in the midfield, especially in midfield three like that, who's going to be physical and is going to win the 50-50s. So I would be looking potentially at Lyle Cameron, but he wasn't even in the squad against Hibs, so I don't know if you know what the manager's thinking is behind that and if he really fancies him. But I prefer Lyle Cameron in the midfield three with Diomande and Raskin, and then more. You know, we don't really have many right wing options at the minute. You know, we've got Ant-Man and Curtis who are right wingers, but Curtis I don't see him getting any game time between now and Christmas, really. And Ant-Man's just not been performing at all. He had that really good debut, and that's been it, really. So potentially, yeah, if he went back, it might be more in Gassama. And also, my only worry is then with the striking options is the fact that Miovski, I've been really disappointed in his link-up play. I feel like every time we try to play off him, he loses the ball, and it's really frustrating. So I'm like, well, is he going to work in a team where we need to be able to play off him, or does he just want the ball in behind for him to run onto? So I think that's a bit of a worry for me with Miovski playing up by himself. But for the most part, I would agree with that if we do go back to a 4-3-3. What about you, Lewis?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not completely opposed to going back to a 4-3-3. I don't think we will. I just think it's too easy for teams like Celtic to find gaps, especially between the sort of midfield and between the midfield and the defence. I think it's too easy for teams who are going to press, who are going to come at you, just to find those little gaps in there and to sort of come in, whether it's cutting inside or whether it's coming through the middle. I get that, and I don't think we should really be looking to play with just one up front. I think we should be looking to play with a striking partnership. That's why I've went with the three at the back with the two at front as well. The same as you, well, similar to you, Jay. So yeah, I'm not opposed to it, but I just wouldn't trust Miovski up front by himself, considering the form that he's been in this season.
Yeah. What about you, Gordy? So would you go back to a 4-3-3?
I think this lineup here I think out of the three is probably going to be the closest to it. I think, given it just all goes back to the specific circumstances of this particular game. So I would have maybe you've got Asgard, or maybe push Asgard up to sit on McGregor, and then Diomande and Raskin behind, or just have Raskin on McGregor, and then the wingers. I think that having Gassam up against Tierney could be a real big benefit. I believe Alistair Johnston's injured, so I don't even know who we playing right back for Celtic tomorrow, if I've been perfectly honest.
Probably Tony Ralston.
Tony
Ralston or the boy Colby Donovan. Yeah.
Right. So that's why for this one-off game, this one specific game, I would play with the two wingers, because I really, really feel, I feel that if you play with the two wingers and you've got Ralston on one side and Tierney on the other, their defenders might have to go out to the wings to try and help cover, and that could leave gaps for midfielders pushing up. So I just think for this one, if it's a normal game and Celtic had a full team available, I would say go 3 at the back. But again, just they're missing Carter Vickers as well. So that leaves them stretched at the back. So having 2 up top would really, really, put them in the back foot right for the start. So, I mean, it's ifs and buts and maybes and everything. But, for this, as I say, the only reason why I'm against the 3 at the back for this one particular game is because for this specific circumstance I keep going back to, I would like to see 2 wingers play because I really think we could get joy out of that, especially
But the thing is, and I said it before. I made a point where I was talking about my team, is that their midfield is probably their strongest point. You list the players that they've got in the midfield. You've got Callum McGregor, you've got Rio Hatate, Paulo Bernardo, Arne Engels. You've got plenty of other players as well in there that I'm sure I can't quite name that off the top of my head, but I'm sure that some others maybe could. But they've got a lot of quality in there, and yes, you could argue, especially the player Engels hasn't really shown his quality since he's been at Celtic, but there is quality there, and he's proven it in other leagues. So that's the thing. I just really think we should be looking to shut that whole midfield down. I think that should be our main focus. That's where the majority of play comes in football. It comes from the midfield. So I really think that should be our first and main focus going into this Old Firm, to dominate the midfield.
The good thing is about Danny Röhl is that he is not afraid to change things if he feels like that's the best way of getting a result. He's changed his formation to get a result against Killy and Hibs because he saw what was needed for Scottish football. Whereas he could change it up again completely at the weekend and do something different, And I also think he's not afraid to change it in game. So, we're here discussing, we're trying to work out which players are going to play and what formation is going to play. And it's really difficult. So it's also really difficult for Celtic and Martin O'Neill to actually try and figure out how we're going to play as well. So it's hard for them to prepare for us, really, which I really like. I like that unpredictability. Before, I feel like if you know this, unless your starting 11 and your plan A is just so good, if you know who's playing every week, it's easy homework for the opposition. So I do think that we've got options as well and different ways of playing.
Yeah, no,
That's all right. I don't know. Fine, I'll wait.
Right, okay. No, I mean, I don't think Danny Röhl's going to go into really any game the same as he did the last. As you said there, Jay, unpredictability seems to be quite key for Danny Röhl. To be honest, he doesn't want teams knowing how he's going to line up, of course. But I still think he will go for the 3 at the back. I just think that is the strongest formation right now for us, and it's the strongest way that we can set up. But his actual style of play, I think he might change it up ever so slightly as well. I'm the same as you, Jay. I quite like it if we're a bit more unpredictable, that teams aren't going to know how we're going to come for them. So, yeah, I wouldn't necessarily mind it. I wouldn't mind that.
So I was just going to say, sorry, I was going to say that there's one thing, changing the formation against Kelly at home. You know what I mean? That's all right. But when you're playing against Celtic in the semi-final of the League Cup at Hampden, maybe you're drawn at half time or, God forbid, trailing. That's a different scenario. Do you know what I mean? So it's not, you can't, I don't think it's really, you can't really rely on that. I just think that Celtic are weaker than they were when they played them at Ibrox with the injuries. I think we're stronger than we are, than we were back with Russell Martin days. So that's why I just think we just go with 2 wingers and maybe play one up top and have 3 in the centre midfield, and that packs out the midfield. Because if Gassam and Antman or Moore are keeping Tierney and Ralston busy on either side, and they don't come forward as much, then if we've got 3 in the centre midfield, for example, then that means we're going to outnumber them in midfield. So that chokes off their game plan and attack with Callum McGregor. So for me, that's why I wouldn't go with 3 at the back, because I'd want that extra body in the midfield, and that's the only reason.
Yeah, I mean, it could well, play for the back and get that extra man in midfield, like you say, and I feel like that midfield battle is going to be really important, and I feel like that's where we've been strong over the last season, and that's why we've had so much success in this fixture, because we've won that midfield battle, with likes of Rasky and Diomande. I've been really overperformed in these fixtures, compared to the other teams against the other teams in the league. But yeah, so these were our lineups. I think, Gordy, you said that you preferred Dylan's today, so well done, Dylan. You've won the prize of the top lineup for the day. But if everyone, all the viewers, if you want to put your lineup in the comments, etc., then please do. See how close you are to either mine, Lewis, or Dylan's. So moving on then, shall we have a quick look at the comments before we move on? So
yeah, I had a few up there on the screen, but let's read some out.
Go through them. Comment here from Kenny, basically put me in my place after I forgot about our win in the 2022 Scottish semi-final. Then we've got Rangers win tomorrow. Who's next Celtic manager? So who do you think? Just quickly touching on that, who's the next Celtic manager? Who do you think would be the next Celtic manager? Because there's a number of people linked. I know obviously it's I don't really care, but it would be interesting to see who does go there. Who are you thinking?
Yeah, look, it's a very tough one, to be honest. I don't think there's not many concrete names in it, to be honest, unlike there was with us. Of course, it was Steven Gerrard, then Muscat, then Röhl, and then whatnot. So there's not many concrete names. I think, of course, Ange Postecoglou has recently ruled himself out of the job. So there's candidates such as Craig Bellamy. You've got the boy Kieran McKenna from Ipswich, who I don't think will leave Ipswich. Same with Craig Bellamy. I don't think he'll leave his post as the Wales manager. Even Sean Maloney as well. You could say Sean Maloney is in shout for the job. I have a slight feeling that's possibly going to be the case. And that's why he's assistant manager, so that Martin O'Neill can maybe help him sort of settle into the role. So, I don't know, to be honest. I'm the same as you. I'm not actually too bothered. But it's certainly an interesting sort of conversation. So
it is.
There's plenty of names out there. I mean, you've got names like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as well. You've got, I seen something like Kevin Muscat was third favourite for the job. I doubt that.
Well, it is interesting because I saw the Ange Postecoglou thing, and apparently he doesn't go back to the same club. Doesn't do it over again. So I think he's pretty much ruled himself out, which I thought would have been like the nailed on person to go in. But if he doesn't go back to clubs, then
I think there was certainly talks between the board and whether it was Postecoglou or his agents. I never thought that Postecoglou would go back, to be honest, just simply because of his comments after Celtic sort of vile shouting and abuse during the minute's applause for, of course, the Queen dying. So, he came out with some comments after that against the Celtic support. Obviously, being from Australia as well, he's quite fond of the royal family. So, I personally, that's why I didn't think he would go back, mainly because the fan base.
It's not a big surprise. I mean, there was talks about Robbie Keane potentially because he's won the title at Maccabi Tel Aviv and at Ferencváros, who we actually play later on this season. But again, because of his links to Israel and Maccabi Tel Aviv, apparently he's what I've been hearing anyway from I think it was on Daily Record. They said that he wouldn't go there because of obviously the fan base and the animosity he would receive if he did go. So then you're talking potentially Craig Bellamy, but he's looking at the World Cup. He's potentially going to be leading Wales out in the World Cup if he gets through the next two games. So, who knows? But do you know what? I'm really happy that we've, and I wasn't happy initially when we were looking to going for Danny Röhl, but he was available, and I'm really happy that we've managed to get in and swoop him up before Brendan Rodgers decided to up and leave, because if he went there, I feel like he would have been again, a really good manager for them, because we're now, I feel like we're reaping the rewards of having this new young up and coming manager that actually knows what he's talking about and that has been at big clubs likes of Bayern Munich, and knows how big clubs should operate. Any thoughts on that, Gordy, Dylan?
I don't have anything to say on this subject.
No.
I'll throw in a couple of names. I think I can see Scott Brown maybe being in contention. Obviously, it'll be like another Barry Ferguson, but for them, obviously. The Bodo Glimt manager as well, and Marco Rose, I think could be in with a shout for the job. Obviously, he was linked with us before Russell Martin, Marco Rose, and came out that he had a Celtic scarf and that when he played.
I think, Yeah, Marco Rose, I agree. I think he could be in for a shot. But they're also looking at the Club Brugge manager. Can't remember what his name is now. If
Yeah, I
someone
seen that.
can
Yeah,
remind me.
Oh God, no
But
him.
it's just like, why would you leave Club Brugge now to go to Celtic? Like, you're playing Champions League football. You know, you've got a great structure behind you in terms of like recruitment and stuff, and they're making a lot of money on and selling players and bringing other top quality players through. Like, why would you take that downward step? In my opinion, not going to happen. But
Nicky Hayne, sorry to interrupt. Nicky Hayne, the Bruges manager. I've just got it here.
Yeah. But anyway, so moving on to some more comments then. You've got Scott72, Finley Curtis Loyal, he's a man. Yeah, I don't see him, like I said before, I don't see him playing at all really between now and Christmas, and I think he needs to go out on loan.
I think he will probably go out on loan in January. I think that's the main reason I'm not really seeing him play, to be honest, because I'm disappointed that he's not playing. I know we've spoken in the channel before. I think we should be prioritising our own youth over other clubs. And Mikey Moore, as much as he's been coming onto a game the last couple of days, I think we need to sort of develop our own youth, considering there's not really a B team anymore. So, yeah, it's a tough one. Look, he's a player. He came in and he showed a lot of quality in the very few games that he played. He showed a lot of quality. There was a few inconsistencies in there, but he's a young player who's only just recently came in through the academy, so you can't really fault him for that. I think we'll probably see him go out on loan to one of our affiliate clubs, whether it be in probably in the Championship. I believe it's Wraith Rovers, so I think we'll see that happen probably. Either that or he'll end up maybe down south. The one thing I really hope he doesn't become is another Alex Lowry, who looked a top talent and then he went out on loan and sort of not ruined his career, because I hope he's doing not too bad down south. I think he's still at Wickham. But he was reported to have mentality issues when he was at Hearts, attitude problems, which ended up his loan getting cut short. I really just hope he doesn't end out like that, because he's a top quality player, Finlay Curtis, and I think he can be a top quality player and a starter for Rangers in the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, but I think that should be the plan for him as well. I think it should be a 2-3 year plan for him to get into starting 11. You know, get him out on loan, get him playing some regular football, and look in 2-3 years' time to try and get him, because he's only 18. 3 years' time to be 21 years old, and then that's a better age.
Still young. Still young as well.
Exactly, it's still very young, and hopefully then we actually have a team around him that can help him. We actually have leaders in the team, and we've got a team that is champions and looking to retain championships, rather than doing this whole rebuild where we're currently at. So moving on then to some more comments. Juicy Bear Gaming, Aaron's won't start, lol. Yeah, potentially not. But I wouldn't rule it out completely. Peter McCready, if fit, I'd have Cameron in place of Diamande in the team.
100%.
Yeah, and this is it. Like Cameron, I really like Cameron, and at the start of the season, I said he would have been one of the first names on my team sheet. I feel like he gives you everything that I'd want in the midfield player. What are your thoughts on that, Gordy? Do you like Cameron? Would you start him on Sunday if he's available?
Yeah, just a quick comment. Just getting back to Finlay Curtis for a minute. I think it's really, really crucial that we find the right team for him, as you alluded to. I think right now a team like Partick Thistle would be ideal for him, because they are currently second in the Championship. They're pushing for promotion.
1-5-0 today.
Yeah, and that gives him experience of a team that's kind of up at the top of the league, top of the division, pushing for success, rather than a team that's in a relegation dogfight, because that's not who Rangers are. And I think we should try and mirror what he would experience at Rangers. So a team like Partick Thistle, maybe even St Johnstone as well, would be ideal. And getting back to Aaron's, he must be a good player. Like, you don't play in the Premier League in that for, if you're a bad player, like, you just don't, but for some reason, it's like he struggled. Maybe he wasn't expecting it to be so physical up here. Maybe he wasn't expecting it to be so, fast-paced and direct. I don't know what he was expecting. But that's the thing, like, the concern we've got is who do you play, because there's a comment above about Tavernier and him going AWOL. So Robert Binney and somebody else, I just find that Peter McCready have said about Tav just being a weak link against Celtic or going AWOL. And we have mentioned it on the show as well. Tav will, if it's a corner on the left-hand side, Tav will probably go and take it, and then we're exposed on the right-hand side for the next couple of minutes because it's at the age getting back. So that's the most difficult decision. So, I mean, you could throw a curveball and play somebody like Mikey Moore at, right wing back or whatever. That'd be a bit of a gamble, obviously. But with how high Tavernier plays up the park, well, it wouldn't be far off the position that Mikey Moore would play on the right-hand side. So the right-hand side is probably our weakest link. And to be fair to Celtic, as much as I hate to admit it, they have exploited that over the years. I don't know how many goals we've lost in the last 10. Let's be honest. I don't know how many goals we've lost in the last 10 years against Celtic down our right-hand side. It's double figures. Sometimes 2 in one game. And and it's horrible because I love Tavernier as a player. I really, really rate him. It's just, again, the positions he takes up. Is he suitable for a game of this magnitude against Celtic, who concentrate down the right-hand wing, right wing? And it's a feature of both our, left back and right back. We don't actually try and stop crosses. We jump out the way. We jump out the way of them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. I've never understood that. Tav puts his hands behind his back and jumps out the way. So, it's so frustrating. So, but is the captain. If you don't play your captain against Celtic, who do you play?
Yeah, I know, and that's the hard part about all of this. Trying to fit him in the team. He is the captain. He has got the most experience in these sort of fixtures. And more often than not, he comes up with the goods. When we really need him. So it's a big call, and I'm glad I'm not the one making it. But hopefully, Danny Röhl does make the right one tomorrow.
I'm just going to come in here and just say this one wee quick point. For me, I think it's bad when your captain isn't your first name in the team sheet, especially in a game against your biggest rivals in a cup semi-final. I think that's really bad. The fact that your captain isn't the first name in your team sheet, and he's not the first name in my team sheet either. But he should be. He should be, but he's not.
Yeah,
I know.
It's terrible.
But it goes back to, I mean, Tavernier was looking like he was going last season, right?
Yeah.
The fact that he still stayed here, he should have been gone when Goldson left, but we just didn't have the players to replace him with, and we still haven't done that. Look, we still haven't got a right back that can replace Tav, because we've got Sterling, who's always injured. Then we've brought in Max Aarons. I mean, I prefer much more right wing back than I do at right back. And he's on loan, no option to buy. So, we're still going to be in the situation next year. And I feel like he's still going to be here next year, because they're going to probably look at it and say, well, let's bring in one right back on a permanent who can then replace Tav throughout the season, rather than put all the pressure on this new right back from the off. And
I'm pretty sure Tav's out of contract at the end of the season. I could be wrong though.
He is. He is. And I think they're going to extend him by a year. Him and John Suter, they'll probably extend by a year or two, I reckon. Because there's so much to do, next summer window. We've got so many loan players. They're probably going to want some consistency in there as well.
I think that's what we'll be looking at in the January window, is a couple of more fullbacks. I do like Magoma, but physical presence again. You do have Dujon Sterling just coming back from an Achilles injury, but will he be ready by January, let's say? So
for me, Magoma, sorry.
Don't know one.
For me, I do like the prospect of Jaden Magoma. I actually think it's a real shame that he's on loan, because I think he's got a great chance to grow and develop at Rangers, but unfortunately it just seems like that's not going to be the case. I think he'll certainly grow. I think we'll notice a difference between even now and the end of the season with Jaden Magoma. I think he'll have developed a lot more as a player and even as a man. As I said there, I think it's a real shame that he's not here on a permanent basis. But for me, he's not quite the full package yet. But there's certainly prospect there, and there's glimpses of raw potential there with Jaden Magoma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like him, like Max Aarons. I prefer him a lot more as a left wing back option. I really like him going forward. He's got that pace, and he seems to do well in his duels. It's just going the other end of the pitch is where he worries me if he's playing in a 4. But yeah, he's not our player, and that's the biggest disappointment really, because if we did get him and he was a 19-year-old that we had in the permanent, we'd feel a lot more positive about him, because we can develop him for something that we needed going forward, and that we can make money off him in the future. But he's just here to play. Go on.
No, sorry, carry on. I didn't mean
I was just going to say he's just here to play his bit for the next number of months, and then he'll be off, and we won't be able to afford him. So it is a bit disappointing.
Yeah. Absolutely get what you're saying, and I agree with you there. I think if he was here on a permanent basis, we'd have a much different outlook on him. We're expecting a player, of course, he comes in on loan. We're expecting him to hit the ground running and be a star player automatically, but that's just not the case when we go. And even Mikey Moore as well, who looked very promising at Tottenham, and even was probably arguably one of Tottenham's better players last season, even the trail end of the season before as well. So, yeah, it certainly have a different outlook. I think we'd be a bit more patient with him as well if he was here on a permanent basis.
Yeah. So moving on then, looking at the game tomorrow, Celtic's form. Do you think we can, Dylan? Do you think we can look too much into that? Obviously, they were poor under Brendan Rodgers, but Martin O'Neill's come in and they've got a good win midweek. Do we think we can look into their form as any sort of indication as to the team that we're going to be up against?
I think the form just goes completely out the window in these games. It's the same with us, but we're superb defensively on Wednesday night. But these sort of games, the atmosphere, it's split right down the middle. Form's right out the window. It's who wants it more.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's all about who wants it more in the day. Hopefully that'll be us. But Gordy, where do you think this game is going to be sort of won and lost? Like, what do you think are our biggest strengths tomorrow?
At Hampden.
Yeah, obviously. But on the pitch with the players.
I know that is, but it's going to be one I lost at Hampden. Hampden. So
yeah.
Next question.
So, in terms of our players and the way we set up, where do you think we're going to potentially win the game, and where do you think we're going to be at our weakest?
I'll jump in here. I think Cornelius does go a bit far forward for a centre back for my liking. So whether or not he will continue to do that tomorrow, we noticed that Kelly. I was in the stadium and he was constantly forward. It might be what Danny Röhl is asking for in that 3-back formation is one of the centre backs to push up maybe, but.
Yeah, that would be a worry because I think Maeda, he came on against Falkirk if I'm not mistaken, so he should be back from injury to play against us, and he would thrive off of that space that he would leave. If he was to go up to win a header and it gets knocked on, he'll be off into the distance with the ball over the top. So definitely a valid point, and
that's another reason I'm against the 3-back. Those wing backs need to be on their game. For the full, if it does go to 120 minutes, they need to be on their game because players like Maeda will just utilise that space constantly down those flanks, and they're up against Derek Cornelius, who's maybe not the quickest, and obviously if he does have that step forward in him, and then he's just one-on-one with Sutar and Butland, it could be vital.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be an issue against Hibs because they had that rapid guy. I can't remember what his name is, but to be fair, Giga, he did really well against him. He obviously there was this massive, really good tackle in the first half when he was through on goal. So yeah, definitely that is where they would probably target, won't they, if we played the 3 at the back. It's those spaces in between the centre back and the wing backs.
That's why I'm convinced that going with a 4-4-2 is the ideal situation tomorrow, because if we have Gassam or even a 4-5-1 out of possession as well, so we have Danny Röhl up top with Asgard sitting in McGregor, and then we've got 2 on either side, so Ant-Man or Mikey Moore and Gassam, and for me that just puts Ralston and Tierney under so much pressure. They'll stay back, and then that won't leave to quite as much exposure on the wings, as we've said. And that's why I keep going back to it. I'm sorry for boring people, but that's why for this particular specific game, I would go with that formation. And out of possession, you go to your 4-5-1 if you've got an extra body in midfield as well. So, for me, and that formation we've got up in the board just now, in possession, that's probably the formation we could go with Asgard or Diamante playing further forward. But then out of possession, Gassam and Moore drop back to the halfway line, like below the halfway line, and Tavernier and Magoma drop back a little bit. And then that should, in theory anyway, negate the threat in the wings. But I'm not the manager. I can only go on football manager experience and success. I can't. I'm not a professional football manager just yet.
No. I know. It's going to be interesting, and I think he could play both systems tomorrow, right? So he could potentially start with the five at the back, right? Or the 3-4-2-1 or whatever. And then if we were to go a goal behind, for example, and change it to a 4-3-3 and go more attacking, or if we go 4-3-3 and we score the first goal, for example, and it gets to the last 30 minutes, he might change it to the back five and become more solid and try and keep them out for the remaining 30 minutes of the game. So potentially we could see both, and I feel like he's the kind of manager that would do that if he feels the need. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting. In terms of Celtic, then, where do we think we could get the most joy out of them? Where do you think they're at their weakest?
As Godley said, it's down the flanks for me, and they're two centre back. So even if we take Miovski out this team and put Danilo and just put pure pace up front, I think that could cause a lot of problems for them as well. Because we don't need the physical presence maybe with Carter Vickers being injured. If Carter Vickers was there to play, I would maybe argue Chermiti up front, just to use his body and link up with the two wingers and the wingers going behind.
For me, it's definitely their defense, right? Their defense is the weakest part of the team because, you know, who knows who's going to be playing right back? Could be Donovan, could be Ralston. I think Rodgers was fancying Donovan towards the end, but it could be Ralston on Sunday. But then you look at the centre back pairing of, but they brought in Trusty again against Falkirk, and I know he's not the best. I mean, he came off at half time against us last season in the Old Firm. You know, I didn't fancy him that much then. So it's good that Carter Vickers is not going to be available. And then you got Scales and Tierney. I mean, that's definitely where they're at their weakest. And I feel like if we're going to win this game, it's going to be by putting them under pressure. But I'm not sure we have the quality in attack to do that in open play. I feel like that is our weakest part of the team at the minute. We still lack that fluidity in attack. So I think personally, set pieces are going to be the most important thing for us this game. If we can get enough set pieces, corners, free kicks around the box, and our physicality with the likes of Cornelius, if they do play with the Cornelius, Suter, and Giga as a three at the back with their physicality, I feel like that's gonna be the difference maker for us. Trying to bully them in their own box. What we I'll
just push back on that slightly, mate, and say I do think we've got the quality to get at them. I think that Gassam's been probably our consistently best player over the course of the season so far. Not much to compare against, I grant you, but he has looked a most threatening player at times. And I think Mikey Moore, as Lewis said at the top of the show, he showed a bit of form in the last couple of games. So I think if you've got Gassam and Moore on either wings, I think we do have the quality to stretch them, and I think we do have the quality to cause their right and left back problems. And I think that's what the game's going to be won. And when I see the lineup tomorrow, and if I see two wingers play, I will be very confident of getting a result. If I don't see two wingers play, then I'll be skeptical, unfortunately. But that's what I think Celtic consistently over the years have been weakest at the back. And I just thinking, you know, when I think sometimes we are for some reason nervous to exploit that and nervous to go up against them. We are 4-4-2 or attacking options. But I just think if we've got the confidence to do that, then I think it can work out well for us.
Yeah, I kind of worry about Gassama in a way because I feel like he has been our best attacking player so far this season, but all of those performances have been in Europe and mainly sort of the Champions League qualifiers. I feel like domestically he hasn't been at his best, you know. But all of the attackers, I mean, we've only got Danilo now who's really started scoring. Obviously, Schmidt got a goal against Killy, but other than that, like how many goals are we getting from players in the attack? You know, and that's what worries me. And I feel like, are they going to just turn this on tomorrow? Is Gassama going to get a goal and more than Miovski when they haven't really been performing so far domestically? You know,
I think Gassama's a bit predictable. Especially on the left, he is right-footed, so he's a wee bit predictable for me. So if he does manage to get past Tierney, then he's obviously got the space to cut in there and maybe have a shot and hope for a rebound. and I think that's why he has been poor domestically, is because a lot of the teams can see what he's trying to do. He's constantly trying to cut in and get the shot away. We've seen it in the qualifiers and that he is capable of doing that. So I think teams have obviously looked at that and made that like their point to try and stop.
Yeah, definitely valid point, and I agree. You know, he sometimes does feel like a bit of a one-trick pony. But again, there are times where he is really bright and he does do something really good, and he is definitely our main outlet in terms of our attack. So he's one of those where you just need to keep him on the pitch because you know something's going to happen, you know, and it could come out of nowhere. So tomorrow, then we've hit the hour mark now. So should we do some score predictions before we wrap up? Gordy, what are you thinking, mate?
Rangers 17, Celtic 0.
Oh, that would be
that's a bit too realistic for me.
Right, okay, Rangers 24, Celtic 0. No, 2-1 Rangers.
2-1 Rangers.
That's me like it.
What about you, Dylan?
I'm going to go for 3-1 Rangers in the 90 minutes. Chermiti to come off the bench and to wrap it up for us.
Okay. And Lewis?
That's bold.
Yeah, I'll say I said 3-2 at the start of the show, so I'll stick to it. Danilo brace and who'll score the other one? Asgard. No, but Tavernier penalty. Tavernier.
Yeah, I'm going 1-0, and it will just 1-0. Really tight game. Really not much better than the last game we played them. And I'm going to go for Big John Suter from a corner header.
Yes, I wouldn't
win
mind that. Like,
right.
as long as Rangers win, I think that's all that matters for us.
Yeah, I know. And you know, and we've got. I'm not even going to say it. I'm not even going to jinx it. Let's leave it at that. We'll hopefully win tomorrow, and we can have a really, really good day. So we'll wrap up there then. Thank you everyone for joining. Thanks everyone in the comments for getting involved. And yeah, let's hope the boys can do it tomorrow, do us proud, and get the win we definitely need. So thanks all for joining, and we will see you next time. Thanks all, and bye-bye.